Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. And this is live show 1023. If you're not overly familiar with the stream, let me point out, super casual around here. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And I will usually pontificate a bit about our hobby or something that's related to our hobby. But we are certainly not engaged in any sort of mental heavy lifting of any sort. So we're not doing any sort of rocket surgery or anything along those lines. Just hanging out, having some fun. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for 48 hours before taking part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment. Maybe there's a topic you'd like to tackle after the news portion of the show. By all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight is the Motor City Madman himself. No, not that jackass Ted Nugent. We're talking about the real madman. The madman, who also happens to be one of our chat moderators. Jose Fernandez, Kabuki Kid, double K's in the house. Jack Hanks and Russell Higgins are hanging with us so far in chat, so welcome aboard at the start. I will guess that maybe another of our chat moderators, Miss Sarah D, is hanging around, lurking in the shadows. I do see our third chat moderator, Flaming Heron, is chiming in chat from across the pond. Not in the UK, though. A little further across the pond, we're talking Australia. And no, I was not trying to do an Australian accent there. I don't know why I said Australia like that. Scott Nelson and Kathy Evans are also with us tonight. So I have got a slew of news. So we are going to get right on into it here, because following the success of the first Musket and Pike dual pack, GMT Games is currently offering the Musket and Pike dual pack 2 on their P500 pre-order list. Come on, it's Wednesday. How about some wargaming news? I already showed you the first look at Panzer North Africa earlier today as a Wargame Wednesday release. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. But let's talk about Musket and Pike Dual Pack 2, because I've got the skinny. Following the successful Musket and Pike Dual Pike reprint of This Accursed Civil War, and Sweden fights on. We're excited to offer Musket and Pike Dual Pack 2 that includes the reprinted and updated Under the Lily banners, which I got to be honest, I've always heard really good things about. And Gustav Adolf the Great. I think, if I remember correctly, there's like a subtitle to that. And it's something like With God and Vengeance or something along those lines, if I remember correctly. As with the first dual pack, this is going to have 11 battles in one box. The award-winning Musket and Pike Battle Series was launched in 2002, and volumes 3 and 4 have been out of print for many years. In that time, the series has had 2 more installments, and the dual pack reprint of volumes 1 and 2 attracted many new players. In this box, you're going to find the most popular volumes of the Musket and Pike Battle Series, which is going to include an additional battle for Under the Lily banners. It's Wittenwire, which took place in 1638. For all battles, counters will no longer be shared between battles for ease of setup and storage. The battle-specific cards introduced in Saints in Armor will be provided with turn track, victory conditions, dead, and pursuit boxes to improve their utility. So there will be 5 dual-sided cards. The counters will feature formation icons, as seen in the first dual pack and requested by so many players over the years. In the award-winning Musket and Pike Battle Series, armies are divided into several wings. Each has a commander in an order that limits the types of actions that units of that wing may perform. Victory goes to the player who can coordinate the actions of their wings in the heat of battle. Units are infantry battalions or brigades, cavalry regiments, and artillery batteries. Rules include cavalry charges, cavalry pistols for skirmishing or close combat, Polish lances, musket salvo fire, and grazing artillery fire. Play is highly interactive, and most battles can be played through in a single sitting. Now, a single sitting for a groyard is going to be a bit different than a single sitting for most role players. So, with most wargamers, a single sitting could easily be 5 hours or more. So, I would think we're probably taking a peek at about 4 hours or so for many of the scenarios. The Musket and Pike Dual Pack number 2, once again, contains 11 battles. It's for 2 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in, like I said, my guess would be most scenarios wrapping up in 4 hours or so. And you can reserve a copy for the special P500 price of $66 with an eventual MSRP of $95. And I do believe that this is currently right around the 400 order mark. I would expect this to make the cut probably within the next, I would take a guess, couple of months. Because as I've pointed out before, the P500 does not necessarily mean 500 orders gets it a print run. Usually it's a little bit more than that. Usually it's about 600-700. I know there were a couple of designs back in the day, not so recently, but I think the game plan was they needed about 800 pre-orders. And all of them did reach those numbers, but the P500 can be a little bit misleading. Anyway, so that is some Wargame Wednesday news. And speaking of a Wargame Wednesday, I am going to do my best to share a wargaming-related video every Wednesday. Now, I can't say that that's going to always be the case, but at least probably through March, shouldn't have any issues doing that whatsoever. Probably be more leaning towards the first looks than reviews, simply because I am not able to get these war games to the table like I would like to. And to be very honest, I don't feel comfortable giving reviews to games based on just trying to play them solitaire. I'm the first to admit, if a game isn't designed to be solitaire, I'm not real good at, just sitting there and playing one side and then playing the other side and playing the first side again. I just don't get into games that well like that. Anyway, so we've got Musket and Pike Dual Pack 2. I will say the first volume, I did first look video, and it is packed with gaming. Loads and loads in there. So Sarah D is lurking in the shadows, as I thought. Tessie Trekkie is with us, mentioning a new Free League Publishing game. I'm not doing a news piece about that. I'll explain after we wrap up the news. It is going to come to Kickstarter in March, as far as I understand. But there isn't much information out there. I like to share news pieces that I can share images of. I've got sell sheet info and things along those lines. It is a new Coriolis role-playing game. So yes, I do know about that. Kabuki Kid says, our D&D games regularly went 5 hours or more. Yeah, exactly. I talked about it before, that a lot of my role-playing sessions, even to this day, will go about 8 hours. If we can get that much gaming in, we certainly will. So it's not one of these things where it's like, oh, we're going to get together, we're going to play for 2 hours. Because too much of the group has to commute to the games for us to only play, I should say, for a couple of hours. All right, speaking of role-playing games, let's get on into our next news piece, because we've got two headliners among the releases which are coming in March from Paizo Inc. And here's what's on the horizon for Pathfinder and Starfinder. First off, we have got Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered. Oh, yes. We're talking about the Monster Core. Fight for glory. Inside the 376-page Pathfinder Monster Core, you'll find over 400 creatures, including fantasy classics like elves, ogres, and all-new dragons. Wild animals from giant ants. Ants are considered animals? Not in my book, they're considered insects, but that's just me. To ferocious wolves and the unique monsters that threaten the world of Pathfinder, like Sin Spawn and noxious needlers. These creatures cover all levels of play, from the slow and mindless zombie shambler. Strangely enough, it is misspelled with an L. So it's like, I'm pretty sure it's not a zombie shambler. It's got to be zombie shambler. To the ultra-powerful demonic tree raiser, the ideal resource for game masters planning their next battles and player characters looking for monstrous allies to summon. Pathfinder Monster Core is the definitive monster rulebook for the fully remastered Pathfinder 2nd Edition role-playing game. These rules are compatible with previous Pathfinder 2nd Edition rulebooks, incorporating comprehensive errata and rules updates, and some of the best additions from later books into new, easier-to-access volumes with new presentations inspired by years of player feedback. Along with the Player Core, GM Core, and Player Core 2, these books provide a new foundation for the future of tabletop gaming. So this is going to be the third of the core trio of books. Yes, I know a lot of people are looking forward to Player Core 2. I completely understand that. But I'm not considering that to be a core. This one is. This is going to be arriving. Once again, all of these will be arriving in March. The Monster Core is going to carry an MSRP of $59.99, or you'll be able to grab just the PDF alone for $19.99. Pretty nice price on that PDF. Then the other headliner we've got is the 200th adventure path for the Pathfinder role-playing game. It is self-contained It is a double-sized volume. It is 7 Dooms for Sandpoint. Back where it all began, this special double-sized volume presents a full adventure path in a single massive 200-page book to celebrate the 200th volume of the Pathfinder Adventure Path. The town of Sandpoint has seen more than its fair share of danger and trouble over the years, including harrowing fires, prolific serial killers, goblin raids, and attacks by giants and dragons. But what faces the so-called Light of the Lost Coast now is its greatest threat yet. Something sinister has been manipulating events all along, and now a new band of heroes must step in to save this legendary small town from 7 deadly dooms. Return to the town where it all began with these 7 Dooms for Sandpoint Adventure Path, a full campaign for 4th to 11th level characters that is presented in its entirety in this supersized volume. 7 Dooms for Sandpoint also includes an updated snapshot of Sandpoint as it stands today, complete with ways to interact with and influence townsfolk. More Thessalian secrets, exciting new treasures, and a bestiary of dangerous new monsters round out this milestone adventure path volume. The hardcover of 7 Dooms for Sandpoint will carry an MSRP of $69.99. It will also be available in softcover for $54.99 and in PDF for $29.99. Then we've got the Pathfinder Core Game Master screen. A good Game Master keeps many secrets, only to reveal them to the players when the time is right. Keep your secrets safe behind the Pathfinder Core GM screen. This sturdy 4-panel horizontal screen features a stunning battle scene on one side and handy charts and game tables on the other side to give a busy GM everything they need to run Pathfinder. This screen has been updated with rules from the Pathfinder Remaster and includes a useful chart of new terms, making it simple to run any adventure from Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Now, this will carry an MSRP of $24.99. I think it might actually include a little booklet inside. I am not positive, though. Then we also have the Pathfinder Flip Mat Boarding School. School's in session. Got to be honest, I would have thought they'd have maybe kept this till summer, and then they could have had schools out for summer. Boom, ba-da-da-boom, ba-da. But I guess not. The next time your players spend time at a school, whether they are students themselves or the ones responsible for solving a tricky problem before things get out of hand, turn to Pathfinder Flip Mat Boarding School. Schools are prime settings for adventures of all sorts, from delves into the true nature of frightful legends spoken of in hushed whispers after dark, to struggles to contain the results of failed alchemical experiments, to lighthearted stories centered around schoolyard mischief and learning. One side of the map features a school building with everything you need for an academic adventure, including classrooms, a lunchroom, and a library. The other features a pair of dormitories flanking a central courtyard, which can also be used to represent in-rooms or other shared lodgings. This will carry an MSRP of $16.99. You'll be able to grab that PDF for $9.99. And then lastly, we've got Starfinder Flip Mat Shopping Mall. Shopping trip! From the hustle and bustle of a busy shopping center to the dilapidated and overgrown shell of a once appealing mall, there's always adventure to be found in giant marketplaces across the galaxy. One side of these maps depicts a futuristic shopping center with an open entryway for crowds to mingle and luxurious food court to enjoy a bite to eat. The opposite side shows an abandoned mall and is a perfect site for a haunting or the remnants of a post-apocalyptic civilization. This will also carry an MSRP of $16.99, or you'll be able to grab the PDF for $9.99. Once again, all of these are slated for mid-March release. Sweet. So we will actually be seeing a Pathfinder, well, I guess I should say really a Paizo preview in March, because it has been a while since I've been able to put together a video sharing all the Paizo releases for a month. In fact, I just received essentially the only thing that's getting sent out from Paizo this month, and it is a flip mat. So it's like, oh, okay. Because remember, the last shipment of stuff came the last day of January. So it was kind of weird. It was a little bit strange. So let's jump back into chat. Let's see who else we've had pop on in. Lord Cost 2000 and Christopher Lundgren are with us. So Christopher says, Jeff, did you get a lot of good RPG suggestions in yesterday's comments? I've gotten a few. I've gotten a handful. There are a few like Tessie Trekkie's Wise Ass, My Little Pony role-playing game, which you may have forgotten. I no longer talk about Renegade Game Studios. You may have forgotten the treatment I got at last year's Gen Con. So I don't bother with them anymore. Anyway, so I wouldn't run that anyway. But I had pointed out, I was talking about role-playing games that I have talked about. I have never talked about, except maybe sharing a news piece or two over the years about Tales of Equestria. Yeah, I know. Tessie Trekkie was just being a wise ace. Kabuki Kid says, yeah, they're still good for an 8-hour session. Their boyfriend gets cranky, though. Smack him around. Let's see. Who else? Oh, there we go. Stephen for Roll for Combat is popping on by saying that they heard that there's a news piece about them. I don't know if it's about you personally, Stephen, unless there's some news that broke that we're not aware of. Dun, dun, dun. S. Montoya has swung on in, says they're excited about the new AP for Pathfinder, but torn on the price. You know what? I'm with you on that. I was kind of surprised that the hardcover for a 200-page adventure path is $69.99. I was sort of like, really? You figure the 370-some page Monster Core is $59.99. That's kind of like, Yeah, so I understand that. I understand that. So Fleming Huron says, so GURPS is not on the cards. For the most part, you know, I've given up worrying about these other companies. I don't sit there and I don't really have any animosity towards any company. But I still just don't talk about Steve Jackson Games. But the thing is, even if I did, GURPS would not be on the table. As I had mentioned yesterday, Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered's not on the table for me to run with an in-person group because I don't want to have to deal with those complexities. So if I don't want to deal with Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remastered's complexities, certainly don't want to deal with GURPS. So, yes. Madman says those mushrooms on the Monster Core cover have them thinking how good they'd be sauteed in garlic and butter. Oh, he's a cannibal. The Madman's a cannibal. All right, moving right along. Let's celebrate the 25th anniversary edition of Paranoia. It's been around for longer than 25 years. We are talking about the 25th anniversary edition because there is a mega bundle from Mongoose Publishing and Humble Bundle that's going on right now. And I've got the deets on the deal. Dive into dystopian hilarity. Get ready for countless evenings of misadventure and mistrust with the long-running and darkly comic science fiction tabletop role-playing game, Paranoia. This bundle includes everything you need to play this cult classic role-playing game, packed with over 30 rule books, source books, adventures, and more. The Paranoia Service Pack 1 core rulebook gives you the ground rules for the classic Paranoia experience. You're an enforcer serving the computer that runs this dystopian society, and your job is to eliminate any threats to the status quo, which often includes your fellow players. Is that how XP was? Isn't that the edition XP? Because I have to point out, there are a couple, I think there's 2 editions that are being featured in this bundle. There's the 25th anniversary edition, which you're seeing some items for right now. And then there's also XP, which is a different edition. But it says you're an enforcer. Most of the time in Paranoia, you're called a troubleshooter. Not much difference here, but I'm just sort of curious. Because, as I have pointed out, I'm not all that familiar with Paranoia. I picked up first edition stuff from West End Games back in the day, never ran it. Another one of those role-playing games I bought stuff for and did not run. It's like I used to buy all the Star Wars role-playing game stuff from West End. Never ran it. And I was not writing Star Wars novels either to use them as reference guides. But I enjoyed picking them up. Anyway, you'll also get other core rulebooks that span the scope of this zany world, including the High Programmer's core rulebook, which puts you in the shoes of some of the computer's more exalted servants, and the Internal Security core rulebook, where you'll play as a Paranoia version of Special Ops. Pay what you want for the ultimate passport to this classic role-playing game and help support One Tree Planned. I have to admit, though, I always find it strange how Humble Bundle will say, oh, it's pay what you want, but you have to pay this minimum. So it's really not a pay what you want. But they do refer to their bundles a lot as pay what you want. If I remember correctly, I think you can actually jump into this for $1. Now, you can score all 32 PDFs for a pay what you want minimum donation of $18. Now, these savings do run through March 9th, and your purchase will benefit One Tree Planted, which is not to be confused with the old drama One Tree Hill. It's important to note that. But I got to say, this is a smoking deal. As someone who's not overly familiar with Paranoia, what I would always be kind of curious about is how the game has changed mechanically over the years. Because the reality is, I don't even remember the mechanics of Paranoia. Yes, I know it was a West End game, but I don't think it shared the same D6 mechanics as Star Wars. I'm pretty sure it didn't. I don't know. I am kind of curious. So if anyone out there in chat, or if you are watching this after the stream has ended, by all means, please leave me a comment, because I'm kind of curious, because I would think that this would not be all that difficult to port over to the latest edition of Paranoia, as long as the mechanics haven't changed radically, which we have seen from time to time with games, where a game just completely drops their original mechanics and go with something else. Don't know. Lord Cthulhu 01 is joining us in chat. I think this might be a first-time visit for Lord Cthulhu. So welcome aboard. They say, I'm always surprised at how much material is out there for Paranoia. It always seemed like a one-night, one-shot type of game to them. The volumes of books out there seem to prove them wrong. You know, I don't know if they do prove you wrong. Because I'm not going to go through the whole, it always seems like it's funnier to read than to play. Because I don't have experience playing it or running it. But I don't know if there's really any books out there which are considered to be campaigns. The adventures all tend to seem to strike me as being a couple of sessions in length. They tend to have adventure collections. They don't seem to be tied together in any sort of way outside of setting. I don't know. So Kabuki Kid says, Paranoia was always one night, one shots for them too. Oh, so Lord Cthulhu 01 says, they think they've been here once before, quite some time ago. Well, welcome back. And who was talking about Jim Holloway? There we go. Kabuki Kid. Always loved the old Jim Holloway art and classic Paranoia stuff. I always liked a lot of his D&D stuff too, which strangely enough, a lot of D&D fans out there were not Jim Holloway fans. I have heard people complain about Jim Holloway's art. And it's sort of like, did you ever see the Monster Manual? It's like you're going to complain about Jim Holloway's art? Have you seen some of the artwork in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons? It's like, zoinks. Did you see that height reference artwork for the different species? And you're going to complain about Jim Holloway's art? I think Jim Holloway passed away not too long ago, if memory serves. S. Montoya says, it may not be pay what you want, but I'll be damned if they don't have very good deals on that site pretty regularly. Pathfinder, Warhammer, Cyberpunk, list goes on. Really learned to love it. Yes, and on about a monthly basis, there tends to be one humble bundle that is focused on role-playing games. We tend to see Pathfinder pop up there 3, sometimes 4 times a year. And I talk about it all the time to keep your eyes peeled on Humble Bundle because you can get years of gaming content for a song. The last time Humble Bundle did a Pathfinder bundle, there was loads of stuff. Now, granted, it did not include the remastered releases, which there aren't massive differences. It's mainly getting rid of the open game license stuff. That's it. That's what it all pretty much boiled down to, is just getting rid of all of that. So something to keep in mind as far as the bundles that might pop up in the future. All righty, let's move on to the news piece that Stephen from Roll for Combat is here about. Because now available for pre-order from those rabble-rousers over at Roll for Combat is Battlezoo Eldamon. And here's the latest. Befriend, train, battle, and evolve over 160 monsters with 13 distinctive elements with Battlezoo Eldamon. Eldamon are ancient creatures slightly out of phase with reality that like to meld into items, creatures, and locations. You can add them seamlessly into any setting, allowing characters to interact with and collect them without disrupting the established adventure or requiring the game master to rebuild or change encounters. As an Eldamon trainer, your main focus is the Eldamon you befriend and train. Unlike other characters who befriend Eldamon, you can phase your Eldamon in and battle any foe using Eldamon. This gives you a flexible playstyle with several Eldamon ready to fight, allowing you to choose the Eldamon that's right for the job and fill several possible roles depending on what the group needs moment to moment. Inside the Battle Zoo Eldamon volume, you're going to find, once again, over 160 unique Eldamon. 13 powerful elements, each with a unique playstyle, special moves, and other abilities for your Eldamon to learn. The Eldamon Trainer class, which befriends Eldamon and phases them into reality to fight your foes. The Elemental Avatar class embodies an Eldamon and manifests its power directly through you. Rules, guidelines, and tables allow you to customize the experience of adding Eldamon to your game, allowing from a completely hands-off approach to tight integration with the story, setting information and variants to easily include Eldamon into any tabletop role-playing game setting, whether they are rare or invisible to most people, explaining why no one's mentioned them before, or ubiquitous and well-known by all. The choice is yours. Battlezoo Eldamon is designed for either 5e, D&D, or Pathfinder, and you can pre-order your 240-page flavor of choice in hardcover with PDF for an MSRP of $59.99. You can grab just the PDF for an MSRP of $35. It is not currently on Drive-Thru RPG as of yet. Now, as far as I can tell, and I know Steven's going to be able to verify this for us, expected delivery on the hardcover is in Q3. So there you have it. And yes, Eldamon, collecting and training them reminds me of something. I just don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know. I'm at a loss. So Steven says both the 5e and Pathfinder 2e will come out at the same time. And also mentioned, coming out next week. Finished just in time for Avatar: The Last Airbender from Netflix. So you must be talking about I think there was another book you guys had coming out, right? Kabuki Kid also points out, yes, Jim Holloway did die a couple years back or so. I thought I recalled that. Chris Lundgren says the new Paranoia uses the same basic mechanics as the Red Clearance edition with a few tweaks. There's a conversion guide in the back, but it isn't long. Moxie replaces Perversity. There is a dice pool system. So S. Montoya says, wait, am I tripping? Or is this Pathfinder compatible? Has a Pathfinder version. Yep. Well, now you know. Now you do. Kevin King is with us in chat. Says their daughter likes the Root role-playing game. I can see her wanting to run some kind of mutant squirrel from this book. The first person to actually chime in and mention the Root role-playing game. I believe that's from Magpie Games, I think. So I figured, Stephen points out the hardcover, they're going to aim for Gen Con. I assume that. All righty. So there you have it. A new release coming from those fine folks over at Roll for Combat, who never send me any review copies of stuff anymore, but that's okay. I had to get Steven on that one because the last time I showed up on his show, he said I had said something about, you need to send me stuff. And I think Steven misunderstood what I was saying. I always welcome review copies of stuff, but I don't just say, send me things. All righty, let's wrap up our news for tonight because arriving next month from Exalted Funeral and Necrotic Gnome is the Old School Essentials Adventure Anthology #1. And here's what I know. 4 short adventures for Old School Essentials, each crafted by a leading old school writer. PC's search for gold and glory, and that will take them from disease-ridden sewers and bejeweled vaults to sinister temples and to the deep void of space. There's the Jeweler's Sanctum, which is for levels 1 to 3. Delve into the abandoned workshop of a jeweler/magician. It's written by Giuseppe Rotondo, illustrated by Mark Lyons. There's Curse of the Maggot God, which is for levels 2 and 3. Brave the sewer layer of a maggot-worshipping heretic, written by my friend Glenn Seal, over at Monkey Blood Design, and illustrated by Peter Pagano. We have these Sunbathers. Bust out your bikinis and your shorts, eh? This is for level 3. Uncover the dark secrets of the accursed Temple of Leith, written by Brad Kerr, pretty well-known Old School Essentials author there, illustrated by Chris Malick. And then there's the Comet That Time Forgot, which is for levels 9 and up. This is a high-level adventure. Escape from a doomed comet hurtling through space, which is written by D.M. Wilson and Sarah Brunt, illustrated by Stefan Pogue. The 64-page A5 digest size hardcover with PDF will carry an MSRP of $20 when it lands in March. And I was trying to double-check that pricing. It is $20, as far as I can tell. Just seemed like it might be a little cheap as far as Exalted Funeral goes with the hardcovers. But then again, it is a 64-page A5. So that would make a little bit of sense. But still, I think $20 is probably a little low. Anyway, Roll for Comments says, yeah, still send me something if I give them my address. Again. Oh, I see it is. I see how it is, I should say. Mm-hmm. Yep, just conveniently lost my address. I get it. I get it. I will. I'll hit you up with an email, Stephen. Thank you for popping on in so you could check out the news piece. Sweet. Anyway, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I really didn't mention Drive-Thru RPG tonight, but it's important to keep in mind that the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG or Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first, click on one of our ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale, 5% actually. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters do really help to keep thegaminggang.com around. I say it all the time. Normally, on a month-by-month basis, we bring enough in with that 5% that it does pay the hosting for thegaminggang.com. And you cannot bring in over 1 million unique visitors a year on $3 a month GoDaddy cheapo hosting. So our hosting is not cheap. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not a ripoff. But thank you for going over to thegaminggang.com and using our banner ads. It is truly appreciated. Of course, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, other than just going there to click on banner ads, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Wunderbar. And thankfully, quite a lot of you out there do stop over at thegaminggang.com to use our banner ads and or swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a donation. And some of you out there, such as Kevin King and the Madman, tend to make donations which aren't small. Much appreciated. So, the Gaming Gang Dispatch is going to continue in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Our service is friendly and quick. You'll find hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza, your favorite candies, hot and cold beverages, and other delicious snacks. So add to your fun of watching the movie. Visit our refreshment stand right now during our 10-minute intermission. We're glad to have you with us tonight. We hope you'll come to see us often. It's great to get out to the movies.
Bold man, flying through the sky, always ready to answer the housewife's cry.
You've got the cleanest, whitest shirts in the neighborhood.
Then how come Fred's look better?
Another job for Bold Man.
What's better than clean and white?
Bright. Now you can get clothes bright with Bold, the new wonder detergent.
Who are you?
Bold Man. Bold makes clothes look better than clean and white. Bold, the wonder detergent, gets clothes bright. There's never been a power formula like this. Blue and green and white. Gets clothes better than clean, better than white.
Bold gets them bright, bright, bright. Wait, Bold Man, how can I thank you?
Don't thank me. Thank Procter & Gamble for Bold. Bold, the wonder detergent, gets clothes bright. Bold Man, Bold Man, Bold Man.
Rock-a-bye, baby, in your cradle so fluffy. I can sleep, too, 'cause I drink Wilkins decaffeinated coffee.
Clausen's bread is like music to my ears.
What are the symbols for?
This is a very symbolic commercial.
This cigarette, Chesterfield King, gives all the advantages of extra length and much more. The great taste of 21 vintage tobaccos grown mild, aged mild, and blended mild. No wonder they satisfy so completely.
Yes. How often do you think Bold Man gets busted in bed with one of those housewives? Every day? Multiple times a day? It's got to be happening. Got to be happening. Yes. Very weird. Very weird. Kabuki Kid asked, do they still make Clark bars? See, I said last night. Voice volume down. Butchering the English language. Yeah, same as always. And I don't know. Somebody just said, Kevin R. Smith said, apparently Clark bars are still around, but they've been owned by a few different companies since the 1990s. Got to be honest, I liked Clark bars better than Butterfinger. For some reason, Clark bars always seem to be a little lighter, I guess, because for some reason, I always had a bad habit of getting Butterfinger bars that were kind of stale. So, sometimes you get one, it's like, oh, wow, that's so good. And then other times you get a Butterfinger, you're like, what the? Snap it off and sit there and let it melt in your mouth. Never had a problem with Clark bars like that. And Clark bars have kind of a different taste to them as well. Kid also says, don't smoke cigarettes, they're a parent. Yes, yes. W. Forge is with us in chat. Nice. Good to see you. I think they mentioned, yeah, there it was. I just hope the husband doesn't show up while Bold Man is there. Yeah, because none of those hubbies are going to be competing with Bold Man. Kevin King says, I seriously doubt the women in my family were fretting over whether their husbands thought their shirts were white enough in the 1950s. Kid says, Bold Man was just here to help you with the shirts. I swear, honey. Lenny Blade is also with us in chat. Good to see you. Good to see you. Kabuki Kid says, yeah, they rarely had them, but they liked Clark bars. They think their experience was almost exclusive to Halloween trick-or-treating ones. I used to get them every once in a while, probably at the grocery store, Jewel, or, well, back in the day we had Dominic's, because that's where I tend to buy candy bars. I don't go to 7-Eleven or places like Circle K's, things like that, go buy candy bars. Personally, I think these days candy bars are pretty much a ripoff, but not that I don't like them. Don't get me wrong. It's just sort of and yes, I know it's the cost of chocolate. There's a chocolate shortage. Yeah, okay. I'm sure there's a chocolate shortage. These companies utilize slave labor to get chocolate. I don't know if there's a chocolate shortage right now. Just like there's a diamond shortage, right? Sure. Kevin R. Smith says shrinkflation's a real thing. Yes, it is. It is. It is not someone's imagination. It is real, and it is a pisser as well. All right. Anywho, W4 asks if anybody has had a Zagnut bar. I think I had one once. Don't they have kind of a nougat? Isn't there a nougat in that? Kabuki Kid says they are not a fan of coconut in candy bars. I'm not a coconut fan either. Lord Cthulhu 01 says circus peanuts are better than any chocolate bar for them. If they're another candy, God forbid you get that's stale. Because it's So Stephen points out something. Thank you for reminding me this, because this is something I was going to mention. So Stephen over at Roll for Combat says, did you get your Gen Con press pass yet? I haven't and need to get my housing. No, I have not. And I am right with you on that. And it was funny because I thought to myself, now, wait a second. I was going to say the name of the press contact, but I guess it doesn't matter, right? You can probably just go to the Gen Con website and find out. Stasia Kirby, who's very nice. She's been doing the press aspect of Gen Con as long as I can remember, as at least covering the show. And I was sitting there thinking, I hope she's not thinking that I'm the Jeff at TGG who got thrown out a couple of years ago, who was escorted out of the building, because that was Jeff from the Gaming Goat, the retailer and game publisher. It was funny. I was thinking about this today. I'm like, how? Because I sent her an email yesterday just saying, hey, I hadn't gotten my approval yet. And, I want to make sure that I have a slot for the housing portal, is what they call it. Although the reality is, anytime after about 1:30 in the afternoon, you can pretty much forget. Because you're not going to be booking anywhere nearby. So, if it's after 1:30 in the afternoon, it's pretty much, I'll just go to booking.com because you're going to get it for about the same price anyway. But no, I have not. And same thing, because you need to have your badge by Friday. And I think it's something like 11:59 a.m. on Friday in order to get into the housing portal that's going to open at noon Eastern on Sunday. So, yes, I'm kind of curious because that would really suck. So, I got to be honest, and maybe this sounds, I don't know, kind of elitist or something, but I personally think that press should get the same. Well, I think exhibitors and press should get an earlier window to booking rooms in the housing portal. Now, I have heard in the past, I don't know if this is true, but I had heard in the past that exhibitors got thrown into the whole mix, the whole lottery for housing portal times, just like everybody else. And I was like, really? Exhibitors, people who are paying money to exhibit on the exhibit hall floor are just tossed in with everybody else? Now, that may not be true, but I did hear it from an exhibitor about 3 years ago, I think, because it was when I stayed at the Crown Royal, Crown Plaza. Why did I say Crown Royal? I don't even drink Crown Royal. Although, funny enough, my dice bag is a Crown Royal bag, and I just had it a little while ago. I was moving it to another location. Maybe that's why Crown Royal popped in my head. Anyway, but it was when I stayed at the Crown Plaza, which is right across the street. I mean, it is directly across the street, no joke, from one of the doorways to the convention center. And they asked, how in the world did you get that? How did you book there? And I said, I had gotten my housing portal time was like 12:30. And they're like, oh my gosh. They're like, no, ours was like 5:15. And it was like, there wasn't anything left. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know how that works. So there is that. So there was some discussion about candy. So as far as candy, I like Three Musketeers, but for the price, there isn't really much to that candy bar. So, I mean, you don't get a lot of like value out of, say, a Three Musketeers bar. I like M&Ms. I like peanut M&Ms, probably better than regular M&Ms. Milky Way's fine. I like those. Kit Kats, pretty good. I like Kit Kats. Yeah, I guess I could just say, just like candy. But of course, being pre-diabetic, I'm diabetic. Yeah, I have to, monitor that. I can't be like, oh, here, I got one of those fun-size bags. No, I can't do that. Can't do that. Chris Lundgren says, Jeff, I pose a question in the group. What do the fellow game masters do to get players in their group to try different role-playing games when one in the group says, nah? Well, it depends on how big your group is. So if you had 5 people in your group and just one of those players is like, nah, run it without him. Seriously, run it without them. Maybe that's a little harsh. That's how I look at it. As far, unfortunately, it's gotten to the point where a lot of role players out there, a lot of players, not game masters, players, act as if, anybody could be a game master because they're so used to such shitty game mastering that that's what they come to expect. So they figure, anybody can run a role-playing game. And it kind of gets to the point where some of them just overvalue their presence at the table. It's just my opinion. But if I had a group of, let's say, 5 players and myself, and I wanted to run, let's say I wanted to run Traveler, and somebody's like, I don't write science fiction. Science fiction sucks. I'd be like, there's the door. I wouldn't put it that way. I would just say, well, okay. And I would just look at the other 4 players and say, all right, so when would you like to get together and play? That's one of the reasons why I'm not so keen on the modern concept of role-playing games with like the character creation where it's all, spend hours upon hours creating these characters. A lot of times, especially 5e D&D, people will show up at your table with a character they've created. And they've got this, big, long backstory and detailed backstory that now you have to somehow incorporate into your adventuring. Nope. Ain't happening, Dooley. Kabuki Kid says, yeah, peanut M&Ms are great, but they don't last as long. Got to eat them faster than regular M&Ms. Yeah, I could see that. I understand that. Because sucking on a peanut M&M kind of gets gross. So, Chris Lundgren says, I shouldn't complain. You're right, Fleming Huron. He's cool. I respect him for not wanting to play. And my group is usually 80% willing to try new stuff. So one isn't a big deal. So what did Fleming Huron have to say? You can try to convince, but at the end of the day, short of running a game without them, not sure what else you can do. Well, like I said, I would run it without them. And they could be cool, they could be not cool, but still, if there's, something else you can say is, well, what would you like us to play? Because why don't you run that? So Chris says this person prefers Dungeon Crawl Classics 5e and Osric, but Chris, are you going on about that ape game again? What are you, money involved in this? Are you an investor in this game? Chris always shows up and he's always talking about this Planet of the Apes game. The Madman says 100,000 bars for them, or 100 grand bars, whatever they want to call it now. Those are actually pretty good. Those are pretty good. They are, they're similar to another candy bar too. I'm trying to remember, because it's kind of like rice, like puffed rice with chocolate and caramel and stuff. So Chris Ledger says, no, they're not an investor in the game. They just love it. It's cool. Sweet. Kabuki Kid says, yeah, I prefer the old school method of brewing up a character in probably 10 minutes. Then you can come up with history later. It makes sense. Or, a lot of your history can just be built off of what happens in the adventuring too. I mean, I don't mind somebody having a backstory. It's just some of these things are like, oh my gosh. It's like, please. It's like, this is a role-playing game. This is not community theater. Kevin King says they dropped Ape City into Mutant Crawl Classics, complete with Dr. Zira. Fun game. Kabuki Kid says, whatchamacallit? A little bit. A little similar, although the 100 grand bar has a lot more density to it. Like, are we now a candy show? So one thing I was going to mention from the brief intermission, the little Rod Serling thing at the end, it's kind of funny because it's not until relatively recently that I had watched some old Twilight Zone episodes, and I realized that Rod Serling has a really odd way of speaking physically. So he kind of talks through his teeth and kind of the side of his mouth at the same time. Kind of strange. And you could see that in that commercial, that little 30-second ad that he did for Chesterfield. Kind of weird. Kind of weird. If you are a fan of Twilight Zone, I highly, highly recommend the Twilight Zone companion audiobook. It is really good stuff. A lot of behind-the-scenes info. I learned a lot about Richard Matheson, the author, by way of that, because he wrote a lot of scripts for Twilight Zone. He also did some stories that Rod Serling adapted for Twilight Zone. Kabuki Kid says they own the Twilight Zone companion, the physical book. Kevin King says, given the GM shortage, if you live in a large enough community and are willing to game with strangers, finding new players should be a possibility. Bruce Lundgren says that they think they use Savage Worlds or a generic RPG to do Logan's Run. That'd be different. They love that movie. They're showing their age. Funny enough, it had been a long time since I saw Logan's Run, and I remember seeing Logan's Run on TV. I think it was on like ABC Sunday Night Movie way, way back, probably in like 79 or something. Because I think that movie came out in 76, 77, something like that. And I saw it not too long ago, but it was not on like network TV or a UHF channel or something like that. I was really surprised at how much nudity was in it. How much like sexual content was in it. I was like, huh. Okay, all right. Good deal. I mean, I wasn't complaining. I was just like, wow. And yes, there was a TV show that came out that lasted a season that was pretty awful. Pretty awful. But I'm kind of curious if anyone out there has read the other Logan's Run books, because I think it's if I remember right, it's a trilogy, or there may even be 4 books to it. May not know that. I don't know if they're any good because I've never read them. I think I wikied them once. W. Forge says, Matheson was a great writer. I Am Legend and Nightmare at 30,000 feet. I Am Legend, another book, which I have listened to the audiobook. Kind of surprised at the content in that for being a book from the 50s, from the mid-50s. Good book, though. Really good book. I like The Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price, which is an adaptation of it. And it's pretty close. It is pretty close to the actual novel. The Omega Man with Charlton Heston is awful. And Richard Matheson hated it because he felt there wasn't really much left in that movie that reflected his novel. Kabuki Kid also points out Mattson wrote a ton of some of the best Twilight Zones. Yes. Another story that you may be forgetting that Richard Matheson wrote was The Shrinking Man, which became The Amazing Shrinking Man. Wasn't it Universal who made that movie? Yes. I am a fount of useless knowledge. W. Forge says, I like the Omega Man. Soylent Green is people. Yeah, I know. Different movie. Different movie. In fact, wasn't that Edward G. Robinson's final film? And he looks bad in that movie. You can tell he's on his way out. Yeah, Soylent Green's all right. Fleming says Jeff knows stuff. Chris Lundgren asked if I remember the show Time Tunnel. I know of the show. I don't remember it. Just like Space 1999, I never watched it. I think when that was in syndication here in the U.S., I probably saw all of 15 minutes of it. And it was like, really? It's like, man, this show's boring. Although I did have these Space 1999 models that came out. There was one was the moon base. And I remember making that. And then there was another of, weren't the ships called Eagles? For some reason, I think they called it the Eagle. I think there were more than one. I think there was just kind of the term for it was the Eagle. I remember making that too. Not really well because I was probably, 10. Kabuki Kid says they had a squirt gun. That was one of those Space 1999 phasers. I think Chris Lundgren was asking who may have played the Buck Rogers role-playing game. I didn't. By the time that came out, we weren't messing around with any TSR stuff anymore. We had all moved on to mainly Chaosium Inc. stuff, Call of Cthulhu for myself. Elliot was running Stormbringer. Not a ton. He ran a little Hawk Moon, which was, same difference. Just got a different setting with the Eternal Champion. And Kabuki Kid says, yes, so they were called Eagles and it was Moonbase Alpha. Yep. All right. Anyway, so if Stephen from Roll for Combat is still with us, let's keep our fingers crossed that we get our press pass approvals tomorrow. Otherwise, we are going to be in deep, you-know-what, as far as getting a room downtown or anywhere near downtown. Lastly, one thing I do want to mention for those of you who are going to Gen Con, I know the Madman's going to be there. And I heard that, unfortunately, Kevin R. Smith will not be attending Gen Con, going to Origins, though, which I never cover anymore. For a variety of reasons, one of which is it's just not in the budget. Can't really squeeze that in. But I was going to say that with the rooms, I noticed the room rates were lower, or they seemed lower than they had been. And I'm kind of curious. I don't know this for a fact. Did they pass that legislation preventing places from charging their resort fee nonsense kind of stuff? So I'm curious if that's the case, or if the rooms were always relatively lower priced on the housing hotel information for Gen Con. And then when you go to book it, they throw all those fees and tax and stuff. So I'm kind of like, Because for a lot of the rooms in the downtown area, even on the Skywalk, about $250 a night. So I had actually sent Elliot the link for him to take a peek at to see what he might think of staying downtown. I'm sure he's not going to split it down the middle because he's not going to want to spend that much. But I really enjoyed staying downtown. I really enjoyed staying at the Crown Plaza where it was like, don't have to jump in the car and do anything. The only thing that kind of sucked was that there wasn't anything nearby to go buy like soda or anything, but I knew that. So on the drive down, I had stopped at Walmart. So I had 2 liters of soda that I kept in my trunk of my car. Chris Lundgren says they stopped all role-playing games after first edition. AD&D skipped second edition. They own it now, kind of relearning many older role-playing games, which are new to them. Oh, yeah, there's loads of stuff that was out there back in the day that I have never taken a peek at. I know of them. I may know what they're about, but mechanically, I don't know anything about them or anything like that. So last thing I want to mention, March 1st, I think I'm going to do another game sale. I believe I am going to do another game sale, and I'm going to run it through the month. And it's going to be first come, first serve. It's not going to be any sort of an auction, anything like that. And because I have a lot of stuff taking up space in the duct tape studios, and I'd like to give them good homes because they're just not getting to my game table, that's for sure. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I got to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to shoot photos of the stuff like I normally do because that takes a hell of a lot of time. So I might just be listing everything on a page on thegaminggang.com. And those of you who have purchased games from me in the past from game sales, you know that these are in pristine condition. This isn't all beat up stuff. It is, practically mint condition. There's a lot of stuff I have, it's not even punched. So stay tuned. I wanted to mention that because I had gotten a couple of emails asking if I was going to do another sale anytime soon. And I think March probably is a good time to do it because, granted, I'll be going to the Founders and Legends role-playing convention, but that's really all I've got planned. Whereas we start getting a little later into I should say, I might go to WonderCon out in Anaheim because we have passes for it. And it's the same company that runs Comic-Con. I don't know, up in the air. Once again, it's all the budget, which is minuscule. Anyway, I don't have a ton of stuff going on. So I figured, you know what? I think I'll do that. I think I will roll out another sale. And I'm probably going to have some smaller games too that $2 because I have quite a few of those that have kind of collected over the years. When I put them up for sale for $5, nobody seems to be interested. I just charge a couple of dollars. I think they'll be moving. Flaming Aaron says, Jeff takes care of his games. Yes, I do. I took care of my books. I'm also one of these people that I don't let people eat Cheetos and stuff while we're playing games. They can have the Cheetos. That's fine. Just don't be touching anything with those Cheeto fingers. W4 says Rocket Age has a Buck Rogers feel to it. And I do believe that it's a different edition of Rocket Age than what first came out. Because I thought first edition Rocket Age was its own game. I could have swore. And I think Rocket Age now is built on the 5e SRD. I think. But there is a lot of content for that too. I have shared some news pieces over the years for Rocket Age. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central, right here on YouTube. Also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent first look at Warhammer 40K Roleplay Wrath and Glory starter set from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. And don't forget, starting Sunday, I am going to kick off Cubicle 7. I don't know if it's games or entertainment. I'm still waiting for the PR person to get back to me on that. But I think they now prefer to be called Cubicle 7 Games. Anyway, starting Sunday, all week long, I will have videos dedicated to sharing first looks at games from Cubicle 7. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you are watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, a bigger thank you, because you're not only keeping me company, you're keeping each other company too, and discussing candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the channel. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will be back tomorrow, and I certainly hope all of you out there get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.